is Hydras. And it says Hell Hydra on it. So I take my animals, I take my dragons for walks. My Lucky, I can't do my Emerald Grade Trace King. He's a huge flight risk. Boy, you've been a good boy. You've been a good boy. He does know that word, good boy, because he gets a worm. I do worm training with him and stuff. Oh, that's my baby girl. She's my first. We'll go into more detail on her. This is Calm Fancy. He is over 1 year old. He's a morph of some kind. I don't really care about the morph. I care about his personality. He lives up to the name. He tries to be dominant with my other two since they're not his size, but yet he's still super calm comparatively to other dragons when he gets into those situations. He is only in this 40-gallon tank because he just got over diarrhea. And the thing about it is, when you get a new pet, it is best to be sanitary till you can figure out what's going on with them and make sure that they are completely healthy. And so I've had him for a few months. I let him out in the sun. He just got out in the sun today. Now, the UVB up here is the proper lighting. I have two different setups. They're not all on at the same time. This way I have better control over his temperature in his cage, in this tank. And that's an important part, is to understand your humidity and temperature and how they relate to surface temperatures. And it relates just fine for him, personally. And man, he eats his salads and carrots like crazy. And he loves tearing stuff up because he's eating his succulent. But he's a good dragon. I enjoy him. Got him from a guy who had him in a 30-gallon tank. He couldn't take care of him anymore, so I took him over. And we've gotten him up to par. This is Hydra's tank. This is a 4x2x2. I put this garden in there for a reason. And I made sure he's got everything to climb up and out of it. And so he actually puts in exercise to get up there. He eats the clovers that I have planted. Almost everything else in here that I've planted has died. And he has his ledges and places to hide, tons of it. The UV lighting is in the back, so he can pick what temperature he wants to bask his UV lighting on. And it's interesting because this is a full spectrum that is not UVB, but it crosses over with the UVB. And when I lowered it, I found him sitting in here, Hydra, and I found him sitting in here, and he was just staying more steady. It's really neat to see this. This is far from done, but when I got Hydra, he couldn't walk. Like, he couldn't keep himself upright. Couldn't lift himself up. Now, he's up on all fours running around. He's just gotten to become a good boy because he was such a butt. Man, he had such an attitude. And we can see that his air temperature is 97, which means that his basking temperature on the rocks are over 104. And he has plants that he can get onto and stuff. It's really neat. He actually enjoys it. He became territorial. This is Pitch's enclosure. Wonder where she must. Oh, my poor baby girl. Here's my baby girl. She got outside. She got to run around. She is super nimble. Pitch is her name. Pitch you can fill in the rest. She is my baby girl. Don't let me like that. Don't let me interrupt you, baby. But yeah, that's my baby girl. She's the first dragon I ever had, and I built this for her. Needs a good cleaning. And once again, we did the same thing, and she does. She'll move down during the day, and she'll move on to different things, and she can get away. That's the point of giving them UVB in the back instead of all over, so that they can get away from it and they can get to it and they can pick the temperature that they want to bask at. And she does. And man, is she nimble. I've seen her actually jump 180 degrees to get to a bowl. It's amazing. So we're going to build another one of these and design it for Calm Fancy. Hydra was not who this was designed for. Hydra is more nimble, and I think he's smarter than Spike was. Spike died at 7 months, about the same age as Hydra here. So he died from either eating a firefly. This is why there's a screen at the top here, because I just had this chicken wire, because I made these enclosures and we don't need a lot. Well, fireflies were getting into my house, and so I had to put this screen on top. This to protect Pitch and anybody else I put in there. So I want to design it a little more for Hydra to play around like Pitch is, closer, because Hydra is way more nimble than Spike was. But Spike either died from eating a firefly, because I came home from work late and found him on the brick. And that's usually what they do after they eat. They go to the brick, and then they start moving down the aisle here as they want their temperature to drop. But yet they still get their UVB. It's really nice, but yet then he can come to the front if he doesn't really want the UVB, because he doesn't need it, because he's got all his stuff already. It's interesting. We're going to get into behavioral science, and I'm going to explain why I am the guy to talk about behavioral science. It's really cool. But Spike might have also died from a genital defect tumor, because he grew a hump on his back in the last month. Will actually lead to partly why I've started this channel, one of the Facebook groups, and how that dealt with. Now, some of the positive things that we can talk about in groups. So as I said, Spike died on me. This is a death mold that I made of Spike. How cool is that? As you can see, that hump actually developed over the last month of his life. So he could have died if that's a tumor. But he showed no signs. We'll talk about his behavior and things that means and how that works later in the behavioral video that I'm going to make about that. But yeah, I mean, I want to be perfectly honest that he might have died from eating a firefly, because I literally was going to take him to the vet the next month, but I wanted to work with him myself to see if I can get him better, because he wasn't showing any signs of anything else but the hump itself. And I know. It breaks my heart, it really does. I'm not. I just got over it. But how cool is this, though? This is a master mold of him. I want to do more molds and stuff. I got some of the sheds, and we're going to do a crystal mold with this. This is really cool. I mean, the detail work, just his wrinkles that he gets. You can even feel the fat pockets. He was pretty healthy, and the most simple communicative of dragons ever. It's really weird. Pitch is way smarter than Spike was, but Spike was a better communicator because of how much simpler he was than Pitch. And that's something that we'll talk about in a later video. Like I said, I have plans to build another one of these for Calm Fancy, and I do live up to it. Now, let's talk about why I did some other things. So, I did the background. as a acrylic for a reason. Because Pitch is super smart, and she actually gets more stressed out being bored than she does if she actually has more stimuli. So that's the point of this. And that's why down here it's a little bit, he doesn't get to see out the two windows like she does. But yet there's not really anything above to stress her out. But yet she still has stress marks, but I can take her to Home Depot and she has no stress marks. She's happy. She's got so much stimuli. Whereas Calm Fancy over here just gets scared to death. He's not as nimble as the other two. So we're going to make another enclosure more towards this style. I'd like to put him down here, but I think he needs to go up because males in the wild that are dominant like to go to the top. They like to be up high. So we're trying to do that. And that's the reason why Pitch is up here, because of her personality is high. Now,